Hey guys, it's Miss K. I'm an English teacher by day. By night, I read books, and I decided to start a YouTube channel to share my opinions and book reviews with you all. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like this video, and the notification bell so you are notified of every video that I drop on my channel. Today's video, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited. It is the second book in the Four Horsemen trilogy. This is War by Laura Thalassa. I cannot wait to share it with you all. But first, there are three things we have to remember that make up any good piece of literature. There are three things we have to remind ourselves in the world of books. One is character. If you do not have adequate character development and a character profile from beginning to end of the book, then your characters will be flat, one note, and they will not act like real people. Two is world building. This is the universe that your characters live in. And the third one can overshadow both of the others if not done correctly. That is style, word choice, and vocabulary. If you don't have the ability to actually say what you want to say, it doesn't matter how good of an idea it is. Doesn't matter how complex character you have. It doesn't matter if the world is the best that's ever been in existence. If you can't say what you want to say, then it doesn't matter. So today's book is the second book in the Four Horsemen series. This is War by Laura Thalassa. Now, if you haven't seen my other video for Pestilence, I'm gonna suggest that you go back and look at that first, because you do kind of need to read these books in order to make it make sense. However, if you're just tuning in, this is the second book in the Four Horsemen trilogy. It is based on Revelations chapter 6, where the four horsemen of the apocalypse descend upon earth. There is pestilence, war, famine, and death. This is the second one. Pestilence has already fallen at this point, and war rises up to take his place and to essentially wipe out humanity through war and conquest. That is our main character in this particular book. However, ladies and gentlemen, our main character, War, the thing you need to understand about him is that War is uniquely human. Not War the person, but the concept of war. Other creatures on the planet do not make war. Humans are the only ones that can possibly make war. So War is going to be more human than any other horseman of the apocalypse, because war itself is a human condition. It was created and designed and ushered in by humanity. And so he behaves more like humans than anything Pestilence did. He eats, he sleeps, he is immortal, but he makes war and sets up camp. The setting for this book is in Jerusalem, the Holy Land, because of course war would break out there. Where else would it break out? It's the Holy Land. People have been fighting wars there since, well, ever. So that's our main character, War, the second horseman. He rides in on a blood red horse with blood red armor, and his goal is to conquer, conquest, and destroy. And he meets our female lead from whom the story is told. This is her perspective. As with all of Laura Thalassa's books, she writes from the female perspective, and she has a kick-butt female lead character. Her name is Mariam. And I appreciate Mariam's history because she understands what it means to suffer loss before War and the Horsemen ever took place. She lost her mother, her sister, and her father all within about a year or two of each other. And so Mariam has had to learn from the time she was a teenager how to survive on her own. And as war comes to Jerusalem and Philistine, which is what they call Jerusalem now, she tries her best to fight off War. She confronts him and attempts to fight a horseman of the apocalypse. She is obviously very unsuccessful, and throughout the book, she attempts to continue to fight off War, his armies, and warn people in advance of their coming. Each time, she is unsuccessful. However, it does not stop War from taking note of her determination. As he sees her, he sees that she has a long mark on her neck. It's a scar from an accident she had as a child. It is actually the angelic marking for surrender. He recognizes this as Mariam is meant to be my wife, because the idea is that each book, each horseman is given a woman to kind of guide them through humanity. So he recognizes Mariam as his woman. However, she is not one for surrender. None of Laura Thalassa's female leads are one of surrender, and when given the option of either death or pledge allegiance to War and his conquest, she chooses well, he may as well kill me. He does not allow that, obviously, and instead takes her to his camp, and they ride along, and ultimately they're heading east. They follow down the Mediterranean Sea, through the Dead Sea, down Egypt, and kind of follow into the deserts and the plains of the Sahara. And all the while, she is kind of taking in this boy and his aunt. She rescues them because war is about to slaughter them mercilessly. She rescues them, and through their interactions, War watches her, and he learns what it means to actually care for another human being. Because he's War, he only sees the dark side of humanity, the conquest that humanity wants. His desire is fueled by that human emotion. Again, completely unlike any of his brothers. Pestilence, famine, and death are all non-human things. However, War is uniquely human. He is much more susceptible to human desires and emotions than any of his other brothers would be. So, as he sees Mariam take in this boy and his aunt and shows him the good side of humanity, it calls into question what he's doing. And so he starts to lessen the killing. He's no longer bringing about zombies on the earth. He leaves them underground where they belong. He is taking in children at first, then the elderly, and then he is ultimately capturing more people as opposed to killing them. And these steady changes are what kind of makes Mariam and War fall in love with each other. Ultimately, Mariam falls pregnant with War's child because she is his wife after all. And it is that knowledge that causes War to completely say, we're done. I am disassembling the army. We're just going to leave. He wants to walk away. However, a small group of people that he turned into soldiers don't let him leave. Ultimately, they set a trap for him and Mariam. He can regenerate from the explosion, but Mariam and their unborn child cannot. And ultimately, she dies and is crossed over into the next world. So, War makes a bargain with Thanatos. Now, Thanatos is death, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which triggers my mind because none of the four horsemen actually have a name other than pestilence, war, famine, death. But we meet death at the end of this book, War, and it's intriguing because of how careful Laura Thalassa is with names and with words in particular. As War looks at Mariam's mangled body, he still sees the angelic mark that means surrender. And he realizes that that could never have been meant for Mariam. She doesn't understand angelic. That is his native language. He's the only one that could read it. And therefore, surrender was actually meant for him. He's going to surrender his immortality and makes a bargain with death to give up his immortality so that Mariam and his future child can live. This book, more than anything, shows us that despite the fact that humans do make war, that humans have that desire to conquer and to venture into conquest, ultimately, we are still good human beings. All creatures are inherently good. We do not desire destruction, but ultimately we desire life, and we seek about creating that life through whatever means we can. War is not the ideal means. However, what does war mean? War is to expand life. And so that's what ultimately happens with this second horseman. War is now, 2 years later at the end of the book, he's married with Mariam, they have a child together, and they're looking for any sign of her family whatsoever. This book is really good. I didn't like it as much as I liked Pestilence, but I would still give this a solid 9 out of 10, and it's still worth the read after Pestilence, because I think you need to read the books in order to understand them completely. So 9 out of 10 for this one. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, happy reading.